Hello, everyone. Wednesday, 11 a.m. Questions, bring them on. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. So today's first question is from someone who did the Holy Hip Healer 1, and they did the box squats in a front rack with a sandbag. And the coach who sent us the message was really funny because he said that usually when he does like quote unquote normal squats, his toes and his feet stay on the ground and like nothing happening there. But he felt that when he was doing the box squats, especially when he was sitting back down into the squat, all of a sudden his toes kind of lost traction with the ground, and he was more or less just standing on his heel, and he was kind of surprised and kind of like did not know what is happening, why is it happening, and I would love for you to elaborate on that topic of kind of like how should you what should your foot actually do in a box squat, and is it bad if you lose contact with the ground or not? Yeah.
Yes, you'll die immediately. All right. Let's zoom out a bit. Okay, let's talk about the foot principles first, and then we're gonna come back to what does it mean doing a box squat and what the feet should actually be doing while squatting heavy. All right. So the principle of the foot, as I describe it in the book, is really simple. I go with the Beatles here, which is let the foot be a foot. Let it be. All right. In principle, you don't have to do anything fancy concerning your foot. It's still worth knowing something about it. So that's what we're going to start with. Okay, so there's two things you need to teach your foot. The first one is the principle is so you have to use your arch to your advantage. Two ways to do this and two ways to practice this. And only if you do both, you will have a whatever you want to call it, healthy foot, fit foot, or perfect foot, whatever it is. So the first one is you have to teach your foot how to support heavy load, whether that's a sandbag or a cow on your shoulder or children in your hands. It doesn't really matter. So you have to teach your foot how to distribute weight properly in order to support the heaviest weight there is out there. That's function number one of your foot. Function number two is you have to learn what to do with your foot when it's not loaded heavily from external weight, right? Let's call it, for the sake of being very simplistic, let's call it walking, running, hiking, basically everything that you need to do without external loads. Could also be playing tennis, soccer, whatever it is. Everything outside of moving heavy objects. All right, cool. So those are the two things that we have to teach our foot. Teaching the foot means is understanding what it needs for one or the other. Um, a gap in between those two, which will naturally happen because you're either more on the side of, okay, I'm running, I'm hiking, I'm walking, I'm doing all the unloaded stuff, but not so much in loading the foot, or vice versa, which is, okay, I'm doing all the strength training, I'm doing all the squats, but I'm barely ever running, sprinting, hiking, or walking to balance it out. Okay, so you need both functions for your foot to work optimally. Okay, super simple. Support heavy load means you have three major points in your foot. That's the heel, that's the ball of your foot, meaning the big toe knuckle and the pinky knuckle. So those are the 3 points, the three pillars that have to remain on the ground at all times when you want to support heavy load. At all times. All right. To make it a little bit simpler, let's call it the 33.3333 percent ratio of weight distribution to start with. To make it simple. Okay, so the weight is equally distributed on your foot. That's how your arch works the best once you want to load it heavily. On the contrast, if you want to walk, run, sprint, hike, unload it, that means your foot is going to do weird motions. If you want to check it out in the book, I have a couple of videos of people walking, running, sprinting, this is not the same weight distribution, obviously, as it is with supporting heavy load. So it's more of a rolling motion, actually, right? So you land on the outside, you roll to the inside. This is not like discussable. This is just the way it happens, and it happens for a reason. One sentence, why it's happening. Yes, you will always land with your heel. Maybe you're a 4-foot runner. I love you for it, but you're still landing on your heels. Other than Usain Bolt, who runs 100 meters in 9 seconds, 9 point something seconds. All right, cool. So you're gonna land with with the heel of your foot. You're gonna roll to the outside. You're gonna roll to the inside, and then you're gonna come up again. Okay, so all 3 points are unequally have to unequally apply or deal with pressure while doing unloaded movements. Okay, why is this so important? Because only doing both, support heavy load plus support unloaded movements, will lead to your foot being normal. All right, this is super simple. It's not just one, it's one and the other. Whatever you're not doing is exactly as important as the other one. Okay. I want to talk more about the support the heavy load part because A, I'm not a runner. B, you should run more. Okay, that's all I'm going to say to it. If you just run with as little cushion underneath your foot as possible, that's super important. That you can bear at the moment, super important too. It will fix itself. Cool. How do we do the support heavy load? Okay, so when you do a sandbag box squat, for example, the only thing you're shooting for is a wide stance, knees above your ankles, and your knees pointing straight forward. And to maintain those 3 pressure points as equally distributed as possible. So naturally what will happen is once you shoot your hips back, literally the weight will shift more towards your heels, then you sit down, then you come up, the weight should be more on your heels to get the glutes and hamstring going to get up again. Okay, so as long as you maintain all 3 pressure points, no matter the ratio in between them, let's not overcomplicate it, you're doing good. If you're doing a little bit of like toe wiggling, that's totally fine and it's normal because you're just losing balance because guess what? Maybe you have not practiced a lot of shooting hips back with weight in between your hands. All right. So that's totally normal. Takes a couple of sessions. Once you get used to it, you're literally practicing balance under load. That's all it is. As long as you're maintaining all 3 pressure points on the floor and not rolling to the outside or rolling to the inside or rolling to the or literally lifting up your whole foot. I mean, the ball of your foot is not on the ground anymore. You're going to be good, and we can work with that. All right, let's not make it more complicated. What most of the times happen is 1 or 2 things. You're going to either roll out to the sides, so roll out to the outside of your foot, because you heard about creating external tension or external rotation or whatever it is. Screw your feet into the ground. This kills your foot. This kills your knee, and this kills your hips long term. This is not what your foot is supposed to do. I've watched and I've looked at way too many pictures on the internet, foot pictures, nothing weird, just people trying to screw the feet into the ground, which literally makes your toes like look like fingers, right? So you're cranking them in, they're bent, there's weird spaces in between your toes, and more importantly, the big toe knuckle is going to come off the floor. And this is a problem because going into muscle chains, there's something not being used if you lift your big toe knuckle off the ground, which is, surprise, surprise, the glutes and the hamstrings, right? So this is the most important point. It's not about the feet. It's about the feedback you get from pressing into the floor with all 3 pressure points that will allow you to engage the big muscles we're shooting for, right? And by cranking your feet into the ground and by rolling to the outside, you're going to put so much pressure on the outside, which is going to put pressure on the outside of your knee, more importantly, the outside of your quads, which will fuck up the outside of your knee, sharp pain, which is going to lead to TFL, so that's the muscles on top of your hip crease, the glute med, the TFL, the cramping in your little glute muscles up there. This is going to ruin your squat and your hip long term. Relax your feet. That means keep it on the floor, all 3 pressure points, feet straight forward, wide stance, and let nature do its beauty.
Would you recommend to take off the shoes as well?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this one. Absolutely. So um, for any heavy lifting, start with either minimal shoes or even barefoot, right? I wouldn't do this for running if you're not used to running, obviously, but shoot for as least of a cushion as you can, because you should be observing your foot and not what your shoe is doing. So you have to watch your feet in the video. Be like, okay, what is my feet doing? Am I
Mm.
rolling to the inside? Am I rolling to the outside? So as little cushion as possible, as little SpongeBob shoes as possible, barefoot or socks on for strength training, and whatever shoe you need at the moment for running, go for them. If you're used to puffy shoes, don't go to barefoot shoes all the way,
Mm.
because this is gonna mess up your shin splints and whatever. A lot of other issues coming up. Let me finish that question with the opposite of rolling to the outside. That means people freaking out when you roll to
Mm.
the inside, right? This will happen too, and this is totally fine. Let me explain. This is, I think, one of the most important concepts to understand. There's nothing to fix in your foot if your foot rolls in. Zero. What most people think is that your ankle is collapsed, but this is not true, because it's not your ankle that's moving. There's three or four parts of your foot. The front part and the mid part are the most flexible ones, right? There's like 250 bones in there. It's like a lot of small bones in there. So there's a lot of movement possible. So whenever you roll to the inside, this is actually your front and midfoot shooting towards the inside. This is not your ankle collapsing. Your ankle cannot collapse because there's two shin bones and there's a stiff bone at the top. And if that thing moves, you're going to break your ankle,
Mm.
right? So what we refer to as ankle is something we see actually in the foot happening, but like in terms of anatomy, the ankle is literally the bottom part of your two shin bones. That's what the ankle literally is. So the ankle cannot move, right? Yes, we see a shifting, but that is going to be initiated by the front and midfoot. There's nothing. Let me repeat. There's nothing to fix there. Zero. All we have to take care of is, okay, let's start upstream. Let's fix the neutral pelvis first. If you can stabilize the neutral pelvis with your glute max, when you squat down, that means you can hold the glute max going, shooting your hips back. This means your femur, your big thigh bone, cannot collapse in. If your knees are not collapsing in, guess what? Your foot cannot collapse in as well. Okay, this is not a 1 and 0. This is not a black and white approach. Let's call it like this. We have a rule, which is the last rep rule, which means, okay, is your last rep less collapsing of the front and midfoot, less collapsing of the knees, and less collapsing of the hips? Then you won. Then you won your set. If you squat and the displacing or collapsing of the foot or knee or hips gets worse and worse and worse, guess what? You're losing the set, no matter if you hit your Excel number sheet weight or not, right? So that's a different approach of seeing it. There's nothing to fix in your foot. You have to get your pelvis and your glute max going first, and this will trickle downstream and fix your knee and fix your foot long term. Let me repeat it one more time. There's nothing you can do to fix your foot, or you should be doing, outside of focusing on neutral pelvis and knee glute max. The only exception is if you're a pro athlete and you get paid for investing 12 hours a day into your body, then you can do additional stuff for your foot. Us
Mm.
normal people training twice or three times a week, totally unnecessary. So screw all those lacrosse balls or whatever you're using at the moment, and invest that time you're spending on there into getting your glute max ready to stabilize your neutral pelvis.
Mhm.